Well, here goes nothing. Cut it.
The fuse box in our basement had been acting up for weeks, and I was down there with my headlamp on, rewiring the circuits, when my 13-year-old son Danny came crashing through the door like his hair was on fire. "Dad, you need to know something," he whispered, his voice shaking so hard I could barely make out the words. I set down my wire dancers and looked at him. Danny's face was pale as fresh drywall, and his hands were trembling. In 20 years of electrical work, I'd seen grown men look less scared when they'd grabbed a live wire. "What's wrong, buddy?" "I saw Mom upstairs with some guy. They were in your bedroom, and when he saw me, he grabbed my arm real hard and said if I told anyone, he'd make sure I regretted it." The screwdriver in my hand suddenly felt like it weighed 50 pounds. My wife Beth had been out with friends 3 nights this week, coming home after midnight with stories that didn't quite add up. I'd chalked it up to her needing space after 15 years of marriage, but apparently she'd been getting more than space. "What did this guy look like, Danny?" "Tall, dark hair, wearing a fancy suit. He smelled like that cologne from the TV commercials. Mom called him DJ. DJ. I knew exactly who that was. Darren Joslin, the sleazy real estate agent who drove around town in a BMW acting like he owned the place because his daddy used to be police chief. The same guy who'd been sniffing around Beth at the school fundraiser last month, complimenting her dress a little too enthusiastically. "You did the right thing telling me, son. Go to your room and don't worry about this, okay? I'll handle it." After Danny left, I sat in that basement for another hour, staring at the exposed wires. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They were steady as a rock, the way they always got when I was about to do precision work. That night, I waited until Beth came home. She walked in at 11:30, humming some song I didn't recognize, her lipstick gone and her hair messed up in a way that told me everything I needed to know. "How was book club?" I asked from the kitchen table. She jumped like I'd hit her with 220 volts. "Oh, you scared me. It was good. We discussed that new romance novel everyone's reading." "Which one?" The one about the woman who falls in love with her contractor." The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, an actual contractor, and my wife was falling in love with some pencil-pushing pretty boy who probably couldn't change a light bulb without calling for help. "That's nice, honey. Find anything interesting in it?" "Just the usual stuff. You know how these books are." I nodded and went upstairs to our bedroom. In the hamper, I found her blouse from earlier. It reeked of cologne, expensive stuff, nothing like the Old Spice I wore. There was also a lipstick stain on the collar that wasn't Beth's shade. But the real kicker was in her purse, a hotel receipt from the Marriott downtown, room 237, charged to a credit card I'd never seen before. I sat on the edge of our bed, looking around the room where I'd thought my marriage was solid, the same room where some slick-talking real estate agent had threatened my son. That was the moment I stopped caring about forgiveness. ##. Chapter 2. Gathering Intelligence. The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. Instead of heading to the job site, I drove to my office and started making some calls. When you've been running an electrical contracting business in the same town for 15 years, you get to know people who know things. My first call was to Randy Morrison, my best friend since high school and the only guy I trusted completely. Randy ran a plumbing business and had the same blue-collar network I did. "Mick, what's eating you? You sound like someone died." "Maybe someone did. I need a favor, Randy. What do you know about Darren Joslin?" "DJ? That slimy piece of work? Why, what's he done now?" "He's been screwing my wife, and he threatened Danny." The line went quiet for a long moment. Then Randy's voice came back, hard as granite. "That son of a witch. What do you need?" "Information. Everything you can find out about him. His habits, his hangouts, his weaknesses. I want to know what makes this guy tick. Give me until tonight. I'll call you back." My second call was to Mrs. Gibbons, the 70-year-old widow who lived next door and knew every piece of gossip in a 10-mile radius. She'd been watching our neighborhood like a hawk for 40 years. "Mrs. Gibbons, it's Mick Parrish. I was wondering if you'd noticed anything unusual around my house lately." "Oh, Mickey, I was hoping you'd ask. That fancy car's been in your driveway 3 times this week while you were at work. Blue BMW. The driver's been staying for hours." My jaw clenched. "Did you happen to see who was driving it?" "That Joslin boy. The one who thinks he's God's gift to women. I never liked his father when he was chief, and I liked the son even less. After I hung up, I sat in my office chair and stared at the wall covered with photos of successful jobs. Rewired houses, new construction projects, satisfied customers. I'd built this business from nothing, working 16-hour days to provide for my family. And while I was out there busting my wife was entertaining some smooth-talking parasite in our bedroom. But I wasn't going to do anything stupid. I was going to be smart about this. Methodical, like running electrical through a house. You plan every wire, every connection, every switch before you start pulling cable. That afternoon, I installed a small voice-activated recorder in the bedroom, hidden inside the electrical outlet behind the nightstand. It was the kind of thing I used to troubleshoot electrical problems, perfectly legal in my own house. Randy called me back at 6 o'clock with a full report. DJ's got a reputation, Mick. This isn't his first rodeo. He's been messing around with married women for years. Always targets the ones whose husbands work construction or manual labor, guys he thinks won't fight back because they're afraid of his family connections. What else? He's got a temper when things don't go his way. Got arrested twice in college for bar fights, but Daddy made the charges disappear. He owes money all over town, gambling debts mostly, lives way beyond his means. Where does he hang out? The Copper Tap on Friday nights, playing poker in the back room. He's got a regular table with some other lowlifes. And Mick, I heard something else. He's been bragging about his latest conquest. Didn't mention names, but he's been showing off photos on his phone. My hands tightened around the receiver. Photos. Private ones, if you know what I mean. The kind a guy takes when he wants leverage over someone. After I hung up, I sat in my truck outside the house for 20 minutes, watching Beth through the kitchen window as she made dinner. She looked so normal, so innocent, humming while she stirred something on the stove. But I knew better now. When I finally went inside, she greeted me with a smile and a kiss on the cheek, just like she had for 15 years. How was work, honey? Productive, I said. Very productive. That night, after she fell asleep, I checked the recorder. What I heard made my blood run cold. Chapter 3, The First Move. The recording was crystal clear. Beth and DJ in my bedroom talking about me like I was some kind of obstacle to be removed. He's so clueless, Beth's voice said. Mick thinks I'm at book club every week. He has no idea. What if he finds out? DJ's voice was smoother, more confident. He won't. And even if he does, what's he going to do? Fight you? You'd destroy him in court. Your family has connections he could never match. Still, we need to be careful. That kid of yours almost saw us last time. Danny won't say anything. He's too scared. I made sure of that. But maybe we should think about making this permanent. You could file for divorce, claim misuse. With my connections, you'd get everything. The house, the business, full custody. Could we really do that? Baby, I've seen it done a dozen times. These blue-collar guys never know what hit them. I turned off the recorder and sat in the dark for a long time. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning to destroy my entire life, take my kids, my business, everything I'd worked for. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd underestimated the guy who'd been fixing other people's problems for 20 years. The next day was Friday. I knew DJ would be at the Copper Tap that night, playing poker and probably bragging about his latest conquest. I also knew he'd parked his precious BMW in the lot behind the bar, away from the street where it might get scratched. I waited until midnight, then took a little walk with my toolbox. The BMW was exactly where I expected it to be, gleaming under the streetlight like DJ's overinflated ego. I'd brought my tire gauge, but I didn't need to let the air out. I had something better in mind. From my toolbox, I pulled out a small valve core tool, the kind used to remove the valve stems from tires. It took me about 3 minutes to remove all 4 valve cores and watch the tires slowly deflate. Then I placed the cores in a neat line on his windshield, along with a note written in block letters. You picked the wrong toolbox. But I wasn't done. I'd also brought a small bottle of liquid electrical tape, the kind that dries clear but becomes visible when it gets wet. I painted Homewrecker across his rear windshield in letters that would show up the next time it rained. The whole operation took less than 10 minutes. I was back in my truck and halfway home before DJ probably finished losing his shirt at the poker table. Saturday morning, I was having coffee when my phone rang. The caller ID showed DJ's number. You think you're real clever, don't you? His voice was tight with rage. I'm sorry, who is this? You know damn well who this is. That little stunt you pulled last night. I was home with my family last night. Ask anyone. I'm warning you, Parrish. Stay away from me or you'll regret it. I hit the record button on my phone app. Are you threatening me, Mr. Joslin? Because that sounds like a threat. I'm not threatening you. I'm promising you. Mess with me again and I'll make sure you lose everything. Interesting. And why would you want to hurt me? Have I done something to upset you? The line went quiet. He'd realized he was about to admit to the affair. Just stay away from me, he said, and hung up. I had the whole conversation recorded, but more importantly, I had confirmation that my message had been received loud and clear. Sunday morning, Beth seemed nervous. She kept checking her phone and jumping every time it buzzed. Everything okay, honey? I asked over breakfast. Fine, just some drama with the girls. You know how it is. I nodded sympathetically. Well, if there's anything I can do to help. No, it's nothing you need to worry about. But I could see it in her eyes. DJ had told her about the tires, and now she was wondering if I knew. The doubt was eating at her, just like I'd planned. That afternoon, I took Danny and Maddie to the park. While they played on the swings, I called Randy. How'd it go last night? He asked. Let's just say DJ got the message. But this is just the beginning. I need you to keep your ears open. This guy's going to make a move, and when he does, I want to be ready. You got it, brother. But Mick, be careful. Guys like DJ don't play fair when they're cornered. Neither do I, Randy. Neither do I. ##. Chapter 4. Escalation Monday morning brought the first real test of my plan. I was at a job site, rewiring an old house when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Saw your work on DJ's car. Hilarious. Call me. Okay. I didn't recognize the number, but something told me to call back. Mick Parrish. The voice was female, young, with a slight accent I couldn't place. Who's asking? Kylie Martinez. I do hair at Sheer Perfection downtown. Your wife's a client. My stomach tightened. What can I do for you, Kylie? More like what I can do for you. I know about Beth and DJ. Hell, the whole salon knows. She's been coming in every week for the past 2 months, getting all dolled up for her book club meetings. Why are you telling me this? Because DJ's a pig who thinks he can treat women like garbage. He's done this before and he'll do it again. Plus, Beth's been acting like she's better than the rest of us lately, talking about upgrading her life, leaving behind all the small town people. What exactly do you know? Everything. When they meet, where they go, what they talk about. Beth thinks I'm just her hairdresser, but I've got ears and eyes and a really good camera on my phone. We agreed to meet that evening at a diner outside of town. Kylie turned out to be a petite brunette in her mid-20s with sharp eyes and an attitude that could cut glass. DJ's been bragging about Beth all over town, she said over coffee. Shows pictures, talks about how easy it was to seduce her. Says her husband's a dumb electrician who'll never figure it out. She slid her phone across the table. The screen showed a photo of DJ at the copper tap, holding up his own phone. I could just make out a picture of Beth in what looked like a hotel room. He's got dozens of photos, Mick, and videos. He's using them to keep her in line, making sure she doesn't back out. Why are you helping me? Because I hate bullies, and because Beth owes me $300 for hair treatments she's been putting on credit. If she runs off with DJ, I'll never see that money. Kylie had more information than I dared hope for. She knew DJ's schedule, his habits, his weaknesses. More importantly, she knew his plan. They're going to set you up, she said. DJ's got a friend named Shane who owes him money. They're planning to have Shane vandalize your work truck, make it look like you're losing it. Then Beth's going to file a restraining order, claim you're becoming violent and unstable. When? This week sometime. Shane's been casing your truck, figuring out the best time to hit it. I thanked Kylie and drove home, my mind racing. They were escalating faster than I'd expected, but that was okay. I could escalate too. The next morning, I called in another favor. My cousin Pete worked security at the mall and had access to some interesting equipment. By Wednesday, I had a small GPS tracker hidden in my work van and a motion-activated camera watching it from across the street. Sure enough, Thursday night around 2 a.m., the camera caught Shane creeping up to my van with a crowbar and a can of spray paint. But instead of vandalizing it, he found a surprise waiting for him. I'd wired the van's door handles to a small electrical charge. Nothing dangerous, just enough to give him a good shock and trigger the horn. Shane jumped back like he'd been shot, dropped his crowbar, and ran off into the night. The whole thing was caught on camera in beautiful high definition. Friday morning, I called DJ's number. We need to talk, I said when he answered. I've got nothing to say to you. That's funny because I've got plenty to say to you. Meet me at the Copper Tap tonight at 8, or I start sharing some very interesting videos with the whole town. What videos? The one of your buddy Shane trying to vandalize my truck. The one of you bragging about sleeping with my wife. Take your pick. There was a long pause. 8 o'clock, he said, and hung up. That evening, I walked into the Copper Tap like I owned the place. The bar was crowded with the usual Friday night crowd. Construction workers, mechanics, a few off-duty cops. DJ was sitting in a corner booth, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. I slid into the seat across from him and set my phone on the table. Nice night, isn't it? I said. What do you want? I want you to stay away from my wife, and I want you to delete every photo and video you have of her. I don't know what you're talking about. I touched the screen of my phone, and Shane's voice filled the air. DJ said to trash the truck real good, make it look like the guy's going crazy. DJ's face went white. Where did you get that? I'm an electrician, remember? I know all about surveillance systems. Now, about those photos, you can't prove anything. I don't have to prove anything. I just have to share it. This is a small town, DJ. People talk. How long do you think your real estate career will last when everyone knows you're a blackmailing piece of garbage who threatens children? DJ leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. You have no idea who you're messing with. My family has connections you can't imagine. Your daddy's been dead for 5 years, and your connections are worthless if nobody respects you. Which they won't after tonight. I stood up and looked around the bar. Half the people in there knew me, had hired me for electrical work over the years. They were good people, honest people, who didn't have much patience for guys like DJ. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, I'd like you all to meet Darren Joslin. He's the real estate agent who's been sleeping with my wife and threatening my 13-year-old son. The bar went dead quiet. Every eye in the place turned to our table. DJ jumped up, his face red with rage. You son of a witch! The same man, I continued, who's been taking pictures of married women and using them for blackmail. The same man who sent his buddy to vandalize my work truck because I found out about his little side business. DJ took a swing at me, but I was ready for it. I caught his wrist and twisted, sending him stumbling backward into the wall. Now, I said, let's not get violent, especially not in front of all these witnesses. The crowd was murmuring now, and none of it sounded friendly toward DJ. I could see the anger in their faces, the disgust. These were people who worked hard for their money, who respected marriage and family. DJ represented everything they hated about entitled rich kids who thought they could take whatever they wanted. DJ pushed through the crowd and stumbled toward the door, but not before I heard someone shout, Hey DJ, how's your car running? The laughter that followed him out was the sweetest sound I had heard in weeks. Chapter 5. The unraveling word travels fast in a small town, and by Saturday morning, everyone knew about the confrontation at the Copper Tap. My phone was ringing off the hook with calls from friends, customers, and even people I barely knew, all offering their support. But the most important call came from Maddie, my 15-year-old daughter. Dad, is it true what people are saying about Mom? I was in my workshop, pretending to organize tools while I figured out how to answer that question. What are people saying, sweetheart? That she's been cheating on you with that real estate guy, that he threatened Danny. I set down the wrench I'd been holding and really looked at my daughter. Maddie had always been the tough one, the athlete, the one who didn't take crap from anyone. But right now, she looked like a scared little girl. Yes, honey, it's true. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, I'm sorry, Dad. I thought you guys were just going through a rough patch. I didn't know it was this bad. It's not your fault, Maddie. None of this is your fault. What's going to happen now? I don't know yet, but whatever happens, you and Danny are going to be okay. I promise you that. That afternoon, Beth finally came home. She'd been staying at her sister's house since Friday night, probably trying to figure out her next move. She walked into the kitchen where I was making lunch for the kids, her face pale and her hands shaking. We need to talk, she said. I agree, kids, go upstairs for a while. After Danny and Maddie left, Beth sat down at the kitchen table and stared at her hands. How long have you known? She asked. Long enough. The question is, what are you going to do about it? It's not what you think, Mick. DJ and I. It just happened. I never meant for it to go this far. Really? Because the recording I have, suggests otherwise. Something about filing for divorce and claiming misuse? Taking the kids and the business? Her head snapped up. What recording? I played back a portion of the conversation I'd captured. Beth's face went from pale to gray as she heard her own voice talking about destroying my life. That's illegal, she whispered. Actually, it's not. It's my house, my bedroom, my recording equipment. Perfectly legal in this state. What do you want from me? I want you to end it with DJ. I want you to get counseling. And I want you to apologize to Danny for letting that piece of garbage threaten him. And if I don't, then I file for divorce and I use every piece of evidence I have to make sure I get full custody. Your choice. Beth started crying then, big, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I can't end it with DJ, she said between sobs. He's got pictures, videos. He says if I leave him, he'll share them with everyone. Not anymore. He doesn't. I showed her the video Kylie had taken the night before. DJ, drunk and angry after the bar confrontation, had thrown his phone against the wall of his apartment, shattering it completely. All his leverage, all his blackmail material gone in a moment of rage. How did you get this? I have friends you don't know about. People who've been watching DJ for a long time waiting for him to slip up. The truth was, Kylie had been more than just a helpful informant. She'd been DJ's side piece before Beth came along, and she had her own reasons for wanting revenge. When DJ had dumped her for my wife, he'd made an enemy with access to his apartment and his habits. So what happens now? Beth asked. Now you choose, your family or your fantasy. But you don't get both. That evening, I was in the garage when Randy showed up with a 6-pack of beer and a grim expression. We need to talk, Mick. What's wrong? DJ's not taking this well. He's been making calls, trying to get you in trouble with the city inspectors, the licensing board, anyone who'll listen. He's claiming you're doing substandard work, cutting corners, all kinds of BS. Can he do that? He's trying. But here's the thing. I've been talking to some people too. Turns out DJ's got more enemies than friends in this town. The inspectors he's been calling, half of them have had run-ins with him over shady real estate deals. They're not exactly sympathetic to his cause. What else? He's broke, Mick. Completely tapped out. The gambling debts I mentioned? They're worse than I thought. He owes money to some very unfriendly people. And they're starting to get impatient. How do you know all this? Because one of those unfriendly people is my cousin Tony, and Tony's been looking for DJ for 3 weeks. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, drinking our beers and watching the sun set through the garage door. This is going to get worse before it gets better, Randy said finally. I know, but I'm ready for it. Are you sure about that? Because guys like DJ, when they're cornered, they do desperate things. So do guys like me. Sunday morning brought the next phase of DJ's desperation. I was getting ready for church when my phone rang. It was Sergeant Martinez from the police department. Mick, I need you to come down to the station. Someone's filed a complaint against you. What kind of complaint? Maltreatment, vandalism, threatening behavior. Can you be here in an hour? I'll be right there. At the station, Sergeant Martinez, who turned out to be Kylie's older brother, laid out the complaint DJ had filed. According to the paperwork, I'd been stalking him, vandalizing his property, and making threatening phone calls. This is all BS, Sergeant. I can prove it. I know it is, Mick, but I have to follow procedure. Tell me your side. I laid out everything, the affair, the threats against Danny, the plan to frame me for domestic violence. I played the recordings, showed the photos, explained how DJ had been blackmailing my wife. Jesus Christ, Martinez muttered. This guy's a real piece of work. So what happens now? Now I file a counter-complaint against DJ for threatening a minor, attempted blackmail, and conspiracy to commit fraud. His complaint against you gets buried in paperwork for about 6 months. Can you do that? Martinez smiled. DJ's not the only one with connections in this town. The difference is mine actually give a damn about justice. As I left the police station, I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders. The system was working, slowly but surely. DJ's web of lies and manipulation was unraveling, and there wasn't much he could do to stop it. But I should have known that cornered animals are the most dangerous. Chapter 6. The Final Blow. Monday morning, I was at a job site installing new electrical panels when my phone exploded with calls. The first was from Maddie, crying so hard I could barely understand her. Dad, you need to come home right now. Someone broke into the house. I dropped everything and raced home, my heart pounding. I found Maddie and Danny sitting on the front porch with Mrs. Gibbons, all 3 of them looking shaken. What happened? Someone broke in through the back door, Maddie said. They trashed your workshop, broke all your tools, spray-painted horrible things on the walls. I walked around to the back of the house and saw the damage. My workshop, the place where I'd spent countless hours building and fixing things, looked like a tornado had hit it. Tools were scattered everywhere. Workbenches were overturned, and someone had spray-painted wife stealer and dead man across the walls. But they'd made a mistake. In their rage, they'd left fingerprints on everything they'd touched, and Mrs. Gibbons had seen the whole thing from her kitchen window. It was that Shane character, she told me. The one who works for the Joslin boy. He spent 20 minutes in there making all kinds of noise. I called Sergeant Martinez, and within an hour, Shane was in custody. Faced with the evidence and the prospect of serious jail time, he rolled over on DJ faster than a bad circuit breaker. DJ paid me $500 to trash your workshop, he confessed. He said you'd ruined his life and deserved to pay for it. With Shane's confession, Martinez had enough to arrest DJ on multiple charges: conspiracy, vandalism, threatening a minor, attempted blackmail. The Golden Boy's world was crumbling, and there was nothing his dead daddy's reputation could do to save him. But the real blow came that afternoon, when Kylie called with news that made my day. DJ's been evicted, she said, barely able to contain her laughter. The gambling debts caught up with him. His cousin Tony and some friends showed up at his apartment this morning and gave him an hour to pack his stuff. Where's he going? Nobody knows. Word is he's leaving town tonight. His real estate license got suspended pending the criminal charges, and his BMW got repossessed yesterday. That evening, I gathered my family around the kitchen table. Beth looked like she'd aged 10 years in the past week, but there was something different in her eyes, something that looked like relief. I ended it, she said quietly. I called DJ this morning and told him it was over, that I was choosing my family. And he went crazy, started screaming about how he'd destroy all of us, how we'd regret crossing him. Then the line went dead. He can't hurt us anymore, I said. He's got no power, no money, no connections that matter. He's just a sad, pathetic man who thought he could take whatever he wanted. Danny looked up from his homework. Dad, is he really gone? He's really gone, buddy, and he's never coming back. But I was wrong about that. DJ had one last card to play, and he was desperate enough to play it. Wednesday evening, I was working late in my office, trying to catch up on the paperwork that had piled up during the past week's drama. The building was empty except for me, and I was deep in concentration when I heard the front door open. We're closed, I called out, not looking up from my invoices. I know. I recognized DJ's voice immediately and reached for the phone, but he was already in my office, holding what looked like a tool. Don't even think about it, he said. I raised my hand slowly. What do you want, DJ? I want my life back. I want you to call the police and tell them you made everything up. I want you to admit that you're a lying, jealous husband who couldn't handle his wife finding a better man. That's not going to happen. Yes, it is. Because if it doesn't, I'm going to eliminate you right here, right now. Then I'm going to drive to your house and eliminate your whole family. I looked at him carefully. His clothes were wrinkled and dirty. His hair was unwashed, and his eyes had the wild look of a man who'd lost everything. But something about the tool didn't look right. You know what your problem is, DJ? I said, slowly reaching into my desk drawer. What's that? You never learned the difference between real power and fake power. I pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Immediately, every light in the building went out, plunging us into complete darkness. What the hell? I heard him stumble and curse, and in that moment I moved. 20 years of working in dark basements and crawl spaces had given me an advantage DJ couldn't match. I knew this building like the back of my hand, could navigate it blindfolded. I tackled him from the side, and we went down hard. The tool, which turned out to be a realistic-looking pellet tool, went skittering across the floor. DJ was bigger than me, but he was soft from years of easy living, while I was strong from decades of physical work. The fight didn't last long. I pinned him to the floor and turned the lights back on, then called 911. This is Mick Parrish at Parrish Electrical on Industrial Drive. I've got an intruder here who just threatened to eliminate my family. Send someone quick. DJ was crying when the police arrived, blubbering about how his life was ruined, how everyone had turned against him. Sergeant Martinez took one look at the scene and shook his head. Attempted homicide, breaking and entering, terroristic threats, he said. This guy's going away for a long time. As they led DJ away in handcuffs, he looked back at me one last time. This isn't over, he said. Yeah, it is, I replied. It's been over for a while. You just didn't know it yet. 3 months later, DJ was sentenced to 5 years in state prison. His real estate license was permanently revoked, and he was ordered to pay restitution for the damage to my workshop. The judge called him a hunter who used his position and connections to exploit vulnerable women and threaten children. Beth and I started marriage counseling, and slowly, painfully, we began to rebuild what DJ had tried to destroy. It wasn't easy, and there were days when I wasn't sure we'd make it. But we had something DJ never understood: the strength that comes from real commitment, real love, real partnership. 6 months after DJ's sentencing, I got a call from Sergeant Martinez. "Thought you'd want to know," he said. "DJ got out early on good behavior. But don't worry, he's not coming back here." "Where's he going?" "His cellmate was a guy named Tony Martinez, my cousin. Turns out they had some unfinished business to discuss. DJ decided he'd be happier starting fresh in another state, far from here." I never saw DJ again, but I heard through the grapevine that he ended up working as a night security guard in some small town in Montana, living in a trailer park and driving a 15-year-old Honda. From real estate prince to minimum wage, nobody in less than a year. Sometimes when I'm working in my rebuilt workshop or watching my kids play in the backyard, I think about that night in my office, about how DJ thought he could intimidate me with a fake tool and empty threats, about how he never understood that real power doesn't come from connections or money or fear. Real power comes from knowing who you are, standing up for what matters, and never backing down when someone tries to take it away from you. DJ learned that lesson the hard way, and in the end, that's exactly what he deserved.